25 years ago, I sold my soul to the devil to become a corporate executive. I quit it all to play the blues. My name is Tom the Suit Forst, and this is Chasing the Blues. Hey everybody, this is Tom the Suit Forst, and you are a witness to another Chasing the Blues podcast. Today, we have a wonderful vocalist and musician, Dana Fuchs. Dana has been termed by the New York Times, been called her performance is triumphal. And I have heard many of the performances, and I have to absolutely agree. Hey, Dana, how are you?
I am great. How are you?
I'm doing great. I was saying to you before we started that I am a real fan of yours. I've heard about you for quite a while, through the music business and elsewhere, and I've kind of been watching what you were doing, and I listened to some of your live performances and some of the recorded one, and I have to tell you, Love Lives On is absolutely one of my favorites.
Wow, thank you.
So, Dana, let's start right in. I know you started at an early age, so why don't we let's have the folks learn a little bit about you personally, where you started, how you started.
Ooh, how far back you want to go?
Well, not to age 2. Let's start when you when you became a musician.
I guess, I grew up in a household of music. Being the youngest of 6 kids, I had 4 older brothers and an older sister. And my oldest brother, and next in line was my sister. They had a band together, and I was about 9 years old. So there was always music in our house. I was the one when they were doing covers that would, transcribe the lyrics from the albums. And then I would go with my parents sometimes and sit in with them. So, I had a love for singing, music, the stage since I was a child. And, I lived in a very small town that was predominantly African-American, depending on which side of the railroad tracks you lived on for real. Uh-huh. And I discovered the gospel music at the churches there, in the black churches. And I just remember that's when a woman said to me, "Let mama music take over your soul." And hearing these big, big voices, I just found that I was so naturally drawn to that. And as I got a little older, growing up on all the classic rock albums of my siblings, I really got into the Stones, Zeppelin, not knowing that they were really initially blues bands, So
right.
That was a discovery I made later on in life. So I sang around town, took over the band my sister was in for a while. And then when I was about 19 years old, I came up to New York City to pursue my dream of music, kind of on a whim. I took a ride with these people I didn't really know on 3 days' notice. They were heading to New Jersey. I said, "That's close enough. Can I catch a ride?" And I stayed in Fort Lee, New Jersey for about almost a year. And I would just come in and I'd audition for all these bands. And about a year later, I finally worked my way into getting an apartment in the Lower East Side and discovered these little hole-in-the-wall blues clubs. Walked into one night and I heard this man who called himself Moose singing "I'd Rather Go Blind," a song I had never heard before in my life. I had really no exposure to blues. And my now partner in music, songwriting partner, collaborator, John Diamond, was playing guitar on stage. And I introduced myself, said I was in New York to become a singer, and they invited me to sit in. I butchered Stormy Monday. It was terrible. I had no idea. And John Diamond, my now music partner, said to me, "Well, you've got a really good instrument, but you have no idea how to sing blues. Who are you listening to?" So I told him Stones, Zeppelin, I named all the great classic rock acts. And he said, "Great, now you got to go listen to who they listen to." And it just opened my entire world. And he gave me names, Robert Johnson, Etta James, Otis. I had known the pop tunes by Otis Redding, but I went deep. Muddy Waters, all of that. And I just went on this diet of listening to this blues music and, kept in contact with John. And it was like a couple of years later that I felt, okay, let's do this. And we put together a repertoire, and I just started banging on doors. John was playing with a lot of different artists, like Papa Chubby, Debbie Davies.
Mm-hmm.
He was even playing with Joan Osborne, Blues Traveler. They were all buddies. And I would just go and they'd all let me sit in. And I just kind of got my foot in the door that way. And then we started booking the clubs and doing our own shows. And it very quickly got us a really nice fan base. The beautiful thing about these blues rooms is they had an audience that just knew, okay, no matter who's playing tonight, it's going to be a decent, blues show, blues soul show. With that audience, I started writing my own songs and kind of took them with me. And, it's kind of been a journey ever since. I mean, we were playing 3, 4, 5 nights a week, 3 hours a night. And that led to me getting asked to play Janis Joplin in a play off Broadway.
Right.
Which really, that was what led to that, because they had singers that were probably very good singers, but had not had that same experience where you have to be able to give it all you've got 5 nights a week, 3 sets a night. So, I was one of the ones who could sustain doing that performance and keep my own show going. That's kind of how it all started for me in New York.
Did you, when you met John, I often mention this as a musician, that a lot of things seem fortuitous. All of a sudden I'm somewhere and I meet the right person, or I'm writing a song and I hear the right line. It's almost as if some of these things just seem to come your way. Did you get that feeling when you met John?
Absolutely. John became more than just my songwriting collaborator and my mentor, really. His family, became the family. They became my adopted surrogate family. I mean, it's just, the history is quite rich, and that's gotten me through a lot of my own family loss over the years. I've leaned heavily on John and his family, and they're thicker than blood to me. So yeah, it was a real gift.
Yeah,
to have met him.
I mean, it's amazing sometimes how you will listen and you'll hear somebody say, and I can't remember who it was. It was Crosby, Stills, and Nash, I think it was, that just bumped into each other from England to California one day. Just bumped into each other. It's those things that happen. Yeah. To kind of open the door to your childhood, which I know was far less than picture perfect. You wrote a song, which, by the way, my mouth was open when I heard it. It's called "Faithful Sinner." Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'll probably get emotional, but
okay.
Just January 2nd, actually, was my dad's birthday and my parents' wedding anniversary, and
wow.
Of course they're both gone now. But
yeah,
"Faithful Sinner" was the song for my dad. I mean, it's really his story, our story, as he was sick in the hospital. And in the last several years of his life, we got quite close, but growing up, it wasn't always that way. I tell the story on stage. When I was a little girl, I worshipped this man. He was a tower of a man, big booming voice, so handsome. He was truly my hero. And then I got a little older, and, I started to see his demons coming out. And this is a man whose childhood story would, make someone faint. It was gruesome, but I didn't know that at the time. So as I got a little older, we fought all the time. I ran away from home several times. We had a violent relationship, to say the least. And then, but there was always love underlying. It's very complex. And, as I left home and came to New York, his sister lived up here, who I just lost over a year ago, and we were quite close. But she really educated me on my dad's whole life. And then it was sort of this, holy cow, this man with, absolutely no tools, such a gruesome childhood, such abusive parents, physically, sexually. His own father finally committed suicide. I mean, it was pretty horrific. And knowing all of that, and then looking back in retrospect and seeing, my dad, 6 kids before he was 30, wow. Putting, Christmases, no matter what, no money, but we still had a Christmas. We had Easter. He made us Halloween costumes. I really grew to have such tremendous respect. And that was the beginning of us really finding a relationship and finding out we're both Capricorns, we're both stubborn, we're both a lot alike. We both traveled the world. He was a Marine. So we got close in the end. And, you know, as he was dying, I was the one there for him. And it was very powerful, but also quite sad. I saw this withdrawn man riddled with guilt and remorse, you know, and I tried to talk to him and remind him, you know, how good of a father he actually was considering the circumstances. And I kissed him on the cheek and said I would see him in the morning. And about 6 a.m., the hospital called my mom's house and said that he'd passed.
Wow. And
he was alone. And the story is sort of unfolding. My brother shortly after had a dream where my brother said to my dad, "Hey, Dad, what are you doing here? I thought you died." And my dad said, "God really set me up to fail." And my dad was a devout Catholic, and he was, like I said, so riddled with guilt. So Faithful Sinner is really about this man just struggling with all of these demons, trying to do the right thing, you know, doing as best he can. And it's become sort of a universal theme at show because, I mean, I always say, hell, aren't we all faithful sinners to some degree? Just human beings trying to do the right thing and, you know, screwing it up along the way here and there.
Well, you're a parent, and I'm a parent, and you know that it does not come with a rule book
right.
At all.
Especially back then.
Yeah, right. And I think of all the times that I have completely royally screwed up my kids, and my kids are adults now, so we'll talk about it. That's a nice thing about when your kids become adults. They become like you became. You know, you were more knowledgeable about how difficult it was for your father and how maybe he wasn't perfect, but he still loved you. That's what you start to learn. But I will tell everybody, if you have not heard, if you hear any song, I definitely, Faithful Sinner will make you just sit there and stop. And I think if you're a parent or if you just have somebody that you love or loves you, I think the song is amazingly poignant. So congratulations on that song. Definitely you can tell that you've experienced some of the things that you talk about there.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah. Let's kind of go on to the actress, Dana, the actress. People in my, it's so funny, Dana, people in Factory Underground where I am signed to, when they heard about you, so many people said, "Oh, I know her. She's an actress," you know, and they went on and on about your role. In fact, somebody said this was their favorite movie. So can you kind of give us some idea about that? Maybe some people will dig this movie out again.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. It was such a trip making Across the Universe. You know, it was really a trip getting the part because I had done the Janis Joplin play, which wasn't a huge stretch, you know, playing a singer every night. And after that show ended, it was shortly thereafter, I got an email from the director, Julie Taymor's office, saying she wanted to meet with me. And unbeknownst to me, she had come to a little acoustic show I had in the East Village the night before. Wanted me to do this demo for her. Not anything to do with the movie Across the Universe, but it was like this goddess of death and destruction, Ma Kali, and I had to do all this, in the song. And she had gotten my name from the producers of the Janis Joplin play. So I did the demo, and then we started talking, and she said, "I really love how you express when you sing. Can you act?" And I said, "Sure. You know, I did it in school. I loved it, blah, blah, blah. What are you going to say to a famous director?" And she said, "I have something in mind for you, but you may never hear from me again." And that was kind of it. You know, we parted ways. Not quite a year later, I had been over in Finland doing these festivals. And I came home and got this call. Julie Taymor wants you to come in and read for this Beatles movie. here are the sides. She wants you to sing Get High with a Little Help from My Friend, Joe Cocker style, and Oh Darling, and read these sides. And I was like, oh, that'll be fun. I thought kind of nothing of it, and brought my keyboard player in and did the 2 songs, read the sides, which were really funny because it was something I had experienced all the time on stage, yelling at my guitar player that is too loud and yelling at my tour manager.
Hey, guitar players are never too loud. The band's too quiet.
Right. Spoken like a true guitar player.
Yeah.
Yeah, my guitarist, John Diamond, always has the nerve to tell me that I'm louder than he is. Now I'm on in-ears, so we can't have this battle anymore. But so I finished the read and the songs, and I felt good about the audition, and that's all that mattered to me. I had no idea what this was all about. And Julie, the director, kept a very straight face. The casting agent, good job, thank you, we'll be in touch. And for about 2 weeks, every other day, they were calling me, hey, can you come back? It's not a callback for you. We're just trying to find the right character, Jojo, who plays my boyfriend, loosely based on Jimi Hendrix in the film. Of course, Sadie, my character, is loosely based on Janis Joplin.
Right.
So weeks are going, and I keep going down there, and, they're not paying me. They keep telling me it's not a callback. And I finally just said to the casting agent, I was like, well, what does this mean? Who did get Sadie? And he looked at me with this, like, deer in the headlights look and said, well, you're Sadie. And he thought Julie had called me to tell me that the part was mine, and Julie thought he had. So all this time I had no idea that I had already been cast. And Julie called me at home that night laughing and said, I wrote the part for you after we met last year. So it was really quite a trip. And, it was a dream every day. It was about a year of our life. In the first couple of months, we would just go to the studio in Times Square and just read in front of, she'd bring in people. So it was like doing a play of it every day. And then as we started filming, we'd be on the days off, we'd go in the studio with T-Bone Burnett and Elliot Goldenthal, her husband, and we'd make the soundtrack. It was a dream job. I kept saying, I cannot believe I'm getting paid to do this.
Yeah. That's amazing. I will say, and I think this is the highest praise, at least from me. I grew up with Joplin. I've listened to Joplin, and unbelievably, even in the early 70s, there were people who were saying, oh, she's a screamer and that's all she is. It was unbelievable to me because of all the vocalists for me in the world, there have never has been a more emotional singer than Joplin.
I agree.
I mean, ever. I mean, there are sure. I think there are better vocalists, as far as pure vocalizing goes. But one of the big issues that I have, I'm a judge for the IBC in Memphis, and one of the biggest issues I have, it's not about how fast they play and how good their vocals are. My biggest issue is, for some reason, we seem to have lost emotion in music.
I absolutely agree.
And to me, it's almost repugnant. I try not to, but I almost get mad. And when I think of Joplin, and what I'm really saying is, when I listened to your voice, the very first thing I thought of was, wow, man, this person is really singing from her soul. And
thank you.
Yeah, and you know what? To me, that makes you an amazing musician. And I noticed that your band, at least the few things that I saw, I noticed that your band is very keyed into your voice. And I heard dynamics, which, when I go to some of these events, I hear the band starts at 10 and they end at 10. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like, hey, we're going to do this for 4 minutes. I'll meet you at the end. It's that kind of mentality. So I guess my highest praise for you, and I guess just take it for what it's worth, is that, man, to me, you have that Joplin kind of emotional appeal. So wow, man, that's why I'm a big fan. So
that's quite a compliment. Thank you. And and I know what you're saying about Janis. When I was asked to do the Janis Joplin play, To be honest, that was one artist that I just wasn't exposed to, because in our house of music, somehow she wasn't part of it. And my dad didn't really like strong female presence in general, so which is probably why we butt heads. So he wasn't a fan of hers, and I always heard, "Oh, she's just a screamer. She's just a screamer."
Yeah,
and
right.
when I had to learn, 20 songs in like 8 days to be exact, and I just immersed myself with headphones in her music, I was blown away. The vocabulary she had, the emotion, the phrasing. I was like, how is it possible someone that young was singing like this? It was otherworldly to me. So I completely agree.
Yeah.
Before that, it was Otis. I had never heard anybody emote like Otis until I really did this show and studied Janis.
Yeah, I you probably know this, but Janis at a very young age had to go into the hospital for node operations. That's how tough. I mean, she was. This is somebody who really gave it her all. Let's talk about Otis. Otis is kind of I guess people would call him mainly a soul artist. You agree with that?
Absolutely. Rhythm and blues. I always say, when people say, it's not just blues, when we submit to whatever blues music awards or this and that category for blues, they're like, but this isn't blues. I'm like, it's all,
Thank you.
It's a derivative of blues. It's blues rock. It's rhythm and blues.
It's hard to find something that doesn't have blues in it.
Absolutely. Maybe Radiohead,
Well, I don't know.
And I love them.
I always tell my son, if you're going to listen to Radiohead, bring a sharp razor so you can cut your wrists. Okay, so Otis, tough life. He was born in the 40s. He died when he was, I think, 26 years old. But unlike most of the blues guys, he didn't die from, bad health. He died from a plane crash.
So sad.
Yeah.
So sad. Just at the height, when he was about to really, he was already, I think, becoming world famous. But wow, it's just, what a loss to the world of music.
What is it about him that kind of attracted you?
The first time, because I had known the hits, like I said, Dock the Bay, whatever, and I remember John Diamond saying, "I want to show you something," and he sat me down and put on a tape of Otis live at Monterey doing "I've Been Loving You Too Long," and just telling that story now, and this is, I'm in my early 20s at this time, I was flabbergasted. I just remember tears streaming down my face. And my jaw dropping open. I had never seen someone with just oozing emotion, and I just loved the dirty grit in his voice, the soul, and the sincerity and the authenticity. It struck me right in my heart and gut at the same time. And I was like, okay, that's what it's about. That's what I have to spend the rest of my life trying to reach.
Yeah,
and I'm still trying.
No, me too. I read somewhere about an aching ballad, and I was thinking that God, I would give my life to be able to sing one time where it's that aching sound that just makes people want to weep.
That's what it is with him.
Yeah,
that's how I felt.
He did some interesting songs too, right? He did "Hard to Handle."
Yeah, great.
Yeah. I didn't know that, actually. I just found that out, and I thought to myself, geez, somehow I missed that, because that's a great...
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That was one of the, before I really got familiar with Otis, I knew "Hard to Handle," I knew "Dock of the Bay," I knew "I've Been Loving You Too Long." I remember, actually, before this Monterey pop thing, I remember watching a movie with my mom as a little kid. It was on TV, so it had already been come and gone in the theaters. And I want to say it was William Hurt, and I forget the actress, and they were slow dancing, and they played "I've Been Loving You Too Long," and I was like, who's this? And then I forgot all about it until years later when I saw the clip of him at Monterey singing it.
Man. Hey, do you do "Try a Little Tenderness"?
No, but it's on my wish list.
Dana,
The
I
last
think
few albums I've done an Otis song.
Dana, I when I saw that title, I thought I would pay to come and watch you do "Try a Little Tenderness." That would be your song, I swear. From my mouth to your ears, I hope. But I hope you consider that, because man, you would rip that apart.
Thank you. I'm
Sure.
I'm actually making a note right now.
Oh, that boy! I would be so tickled if you do it. At least send me something on it, I'll come and watch you do it. I live in Connecticut, so I'm pretty close.
Oh,
to
you're
you.
not far.
No,
Okay.
not at all. So Dana, everybody's going to want to know what's happening in your career now. Where are you headed? Touring, recording, etc.
We are still gonna tour this year behind Love Lives On, since it came out sort of mid-year and we were just getting going with the touring behind that, bouncing back between Europe and US. So it'll be a little more of that. And I usually go into the studio and make another record when I really feel like I've exhausted the songs from the last one.
Sure.
So that's coming soon. It's usually around the end of the year. So I imagine, depending on which way I go, I'm talking to a label. I've started my own label with Love Lives On.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, a lot of work, but also, really wonderful to see, the fruit that you bear with the seeds you plant yourself. But at the same time, I'm not opposed to going back to a label. So we'll see what they have in mind, and
Sure.
And when, what their ideal recording would be. But John and I are writing, and it is going to probably be, a little more stripped down, soulful and bluesy this time. I think I do want to go back to Memphis to record, but I'm kind of leaving it open now and see, where the wind takes me in between touring. We have a tour that's being...
make sure you call your next album that, Where the Wind Takes Me.
Oh,
I know.
I'm making another note.
I got these gems are just coming out of me, Dana. I'm going to be spent after this. I'm going to need a nap.
I am literally typing that. Thank you so much.
I wish I came up with some of these ideas for myself. So, are you touring in the U.S. this summer?
Yes. I'm going to actually be playing Memorial Weekend in my home state of Florida, which is very rare. I for some reason, don't get booked down there a lot. They can be a little bit blues purist, and sometimes I've been told I'm a little too rock and roll or a little too soul. So I'm excited about that. I got to, if people check the website, DanaFuchs.com, all the dates are just getting added now. And because I can't think of them offhand. I know it's Memorial Weekend. I don't remember exactly where, but it's a nice big festival. Yeah, and, we've got a tour being proposed for France in March, trying to see if we can make it work. And then I've got February, the end of January, February in the Northeast, March, April, Northeast, New York City. I'll do 3 nights at the Iridium in April.
Great,
I beautiful, love going there.
Beautiful venue.
They really are. And I got to say, they really treat musicians right at that room.
Yeah. They really do. I don't like it when they change the room, though. I don't like it when they push people out for the first show and bring them back, new people.
We don't do that. We do the whole night.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Because the turnover thing is a drag. I completely agree. I come from the world of people being used to seeing me do a whole night.
Yeah.
So we've worked that out with them, and they've been really cool about it. So I'm like, yeah, just, I'll play all night for you, but we're not turning it over.
That's great. So, Dana, how do people get to hear you? Where are the different places they can catch you?
You mean live or online?
Social media, yeah.
Social media, yeah. So, of course, DanaFuchs.com, my website, Fuchs, DanaFuchs.
Right.
That's a tricky one. Spotify, iTunes. You can get the albums off of Amazon, YouTube. It's all out there.
And it's Love Lives On is the name of the album.
Yeah, that's the newest album, Love Lives On.
Dana, this has really been fun. I really appreciate your time. we're going to have you on again when you get your next album out. We'll put some of those things on our site.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thanks for the great tips today.
Well, give me credit. All right. That's all
Absolutely.
That's all I ask.
I'm Tom.
This is Tom the Suit Forst with ChasingTheBluesPodcast.com. Chasing the Blues is recorded at Factory Underground Studios in Norwalk, Connecticut. You can learn more about Factory Underground at FactoryUndergroundStudio.com and connect with me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Tom the Suit Forst. You can find my music, tour dates, merch, and more on TomTheSuitForst.com. Thank you for listening.
Turn your pretty head and walk away. 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 Thank you.